There is an exhibition about women's architects in Düsseldorf.
I've never heard of an exhibition in a museum where the director of the museum is not only not participating, but is deliberately excluded.
This is Düsseldorf in 1801, and we are right here.
Can I ask you why we're not talking about Max Stern or the exhibition that's opening tonight? Yes, no.
When I was last here, I spoke to Mayor Keller, I spoke to the previous mayor, Geisel, I spoke to your predecessor in the culture role, I spoke to the curator. I'm just wondering why I was not allowed to interview Dr. Susanna Anna.
Weil sie mich bekommen haben.
The Max Stern case has helped frame the discussion and also polarized it on how Jewish cultural property was being disposed of in Nazi Germany before the Holocaust actually started.
Max Stern arrived in Canada during World War II, establishing himself in Montreal with very little knowledge of the Canadian art market, but was to become, over the course of 50 years, one of its great titans.
Dr. Stern.
At the Dominion Gallery, he was the Canadian dealer for Rodin and for Henry Moore.
One of the hallmarks of his work dealing Canadian art was the establishment of careers.
He gave Emily Carr her first successful commercial exhibition.
Max Stern didn't talk much about his days in Nazi Germany.
It was really only after his passing that we began peeling back the layers of his past.
So the Max Stern-related archival material consists of Dominion Gallery records from Montreal from the beginning, 1942, until they closed in 2000. There's 90-some boxes of correspondence. So what remains of the Gallery Stern in Düsseldorf is a scrapbook, the client cards, and then a set of photographs which show artworks that were part of Gallery Stern inventory.
Max Stern had a very famous gallery at the Königsallee, the boulevard of our city, in the 20s and 30s.
In 1934, he inherited the gallery and the responsibility for looking after his family.
Stern had to leave because he had a Berufsverbot. So all Jewish people, they were not allowed to work anymore.
Decisions were taken by the National Socialist Party to remove Jews from the art world as a way of extinguishing their activities in the culture of Germany.
Meine Volksgenossen und Volksgenossinnen, heute Morgen 10 Uhr hat der bei Gott begonnen.
Meine Herrschaften, hier ist Boykott in jüdischen Warenhäusern. Gehen Sie doch bitte weiter. Es sind sämtliche jüdische Geschäfte geschlossen.
What we see happening between 1935 and 1937 is a wholehearted attempt by the Gestapo and other agencies in the Düsseldorf area to force the closure of the Gallery Stern and to force the family out of business.
So he had to sell all the paintings before he left at the auction house Lempert's, 1937.
Or what they called Jew auctions. There were many of these forced Jewish sales taking place at many auction houses in Germany and in German-occupied countries.
He was forced to sell for low price, and he didn't get the money for it, you know, they'd taken even the money away.
Max Stern used whatever money he could secure to get him and his family members out of Germany and avoid what would become, for every other Jew that remained, the darkest days in their history.
Theft, genocide, together. So when you document a plunder, you're basically documenting a facet of this act of genocide.
Und der Führer, im Retter und Schöpfer, die
Genocide is not just simply something that happens every day, but when it does, you have to document it and you have to tell the whole truth about it. You have to unravel it and unpack all of its disgusting entrails and make people see it for what it is and understand how this beast, this monster, could actually come into being and allow it to wreak so much havoc in people's lives.
Yes, I said a quick hello to her. I should go spend a little more time with her. Oh, lovely. It looks great. Look at it.
Das Stadtmuseum Landeshauptstadt Düsseldorf ist das erste Museum in Deutschland, das eine Restitution eines Gemäldes erstens begrüßt. Ist dieses Selbstbildnis von Wilhelm Schadow, was Sie hinter mir sehen, ein Schlüsselwerk unserer Sammlung.
The self-portrait of von Schadow. Wilhelm von Schadow was a famous artist in Düsseldorf.
We learned from the Stern colleagues that this painting was in this famous auction at Lempert's in 1937.
And fairly quickly, the city decided to return the painting.
It is indeed my honor to be amongst Düsseldorf society to recover the 12th painting of the Max Stern Art Restitution Project.
Verehrter Herr Dr. Epstein, ich möchte Ihnen nun im Namen des Rates der Landeshauptstadt Düsseldorf das Selbstbildnis von Wilhelm Schadow zurückgeben. Wir lassen es oben auf der Stele stehen, aber symbolisch möchte ich Ihnen jetzt im Namen der Landeshauptstadt Düsseldorf dem Stadtrat zurückgeben. Ich darf Sie kurz zu mir bitten.
Which then the Stern Foundation decided to leave, and it continues to stay there, today, as a painting on loan.
As an advertisement to other museums and other institutions that were open to this kind of discussion with us.
12th of hundreds of paintings that still remain missing.
It was really a lovey-dovey type of period.
So werden wir einst dieses deutsche Reich führen wieder zur Größe, zum Leben zurück.
The Nazis come to power on January 30th, 1933. They're literally invited. And they will stay in power for 12 years until after about 50, 60 million people have died and a third of Europe's infrastructure is pretty much turned to rubble. On the economic side, there will be a massive, systematic, state-sponsored enterprise to essentially gut Jewish wealth So we're talking about roughly 1 million households. And each household basically owns something. It could be gold coins, it could be linens. It doesn't have to be Tintoretto or Vermeer. It could be anything of cultural value. So even if a family has an average of 10 of these, well, you do the math, that's already 10 million objects that have basically gone up, fallen somewhere, and been picked up by somebody. As of 1945, the art market is pretty much contaminated. In the mid-90s, the whole issue of looted art started coming up into the fore.
Books were written, movies were made.
You had sort of a perfect storm, if you want, that was brewing. And a number of cases were coming up, which actually were purloined, stolen, plundered, whatever your choice word is, during the Second World War.
The Rothschild pieces being returned by the Austrian Viennese museums netted a little over $100 million. Then you had significant paintings, particularly Klimt paintings. Total volume of this, $200–300 million. One of those, The Woman in Gold, produced a movie in Hollywood.
The Max Stern Art Restitution Project was established about 20 years ago with the purpose of recovering the paintings that Max Stern lost under duress during the Nazi period. So when Max Stern passed away, the estate was to benefit 3 universities: Hebrew University, McGill, and Concordia. Those beneficiaries decided to look into Max Stern's holdings in Düsseldorf, and the Max Stern Project was born. The first indicator that we would have possibility of restitution came when we received a copy of the Auction 392 catalog.
Over 220 paintings that he was forced to sell due to Nazi persecution.
Once the catalog was found, research began trying to locate those 227 works.
Usually you have lawyers who are in charge of the interest of a particular family, and they may hire a researcher here and there. One of the unique features of the Stern Restitution Project, we are art historians, archivists, accountants, lawyers. I was basically a war crimes investigator. I had no art background. I'm an historian and a lawyer. Because Max Stern had no children, there are no family members involved. It is much more based on independent scholarly research rather than personal recollections.
We've won 22 claims.
Which is more than one painting on average per year.
We are the most successful project of our kind in the world.
And we have been able to do that despite the fact that we don't have dozens and dozens of famous paintings that sort of everybody would recognize. Max Stern sold paintings that people were hanging over their sofas in their living rooms, sometimes to make sure that the color matches the color of the wallpaper. Average art, so to speak, to average people. And in that sense, the Stern story much more represents the reality of Nazi art looting than the few famous cases that we, read about in the newspapers.
Once a painting comes back into our possession, we reinvest that value back into the pursuit of other claims that still have somewhere around 400 to 500 paintings we identify as being claimable. Each painting we recover is a victory for Max Stern and the hundreds and thousands of people who did not have a chance to recover their own assets. Soon after the recovery of the Shadow self-portrait, we began pursuing other works by Shadow that were in the collections of the city of Düsseldorf.
Und in der Tat auch jetzt hier ein Werk, was noch vom Max Stern Art Restitution Project ja begehrt wird, sind die Kinder des Künstlers.
Which is in the Art Museum in Düsseldorf, is considered to be one of his major portraits. It was once significant enough that it hung in the office of the mayor of Düsseldorf back in the 60s.
And so it was a work of great pride to the civic administration.
They think it shouldn't be returned because they're not quite sure when it was with the Stern Gallery. I spent a great deal of time researching this painting, and there was an early version of a catalogue raisonné on Shadow, where Stern is clearly mentioned in the provenance.
Well, a catalogue raisonné is an exhaustive rendition, if you want, of an artist's production.
Having to mean the painting should have been with Stern in the 1930s.
We also established ownership of the painting via a publication wherein it was clearly written that this was the property of Max Stern.
A German publishing house in 1936 wanted to publish basically a picture book with portraits of children. And Stern provides a photograph and gives him permission to publish the photograph. Under the painting, there's a reference to who owns the painting. Stern is the owner of the painting.
When we met the last time with Mr. Loa, the head of culture in the city, Mr. Loa had been given instructions by the mayor to move forward on a restitution.
Und meine Damen und Herren, ich bin sehr stolz zu verkünden, hier 2018 den eben genannten Partnern eine große Ausstellung über Max Stern. We will prepare a big exhibition about Max Stern and his collection and his gallery, and of course about the subject of restitution in the year 2018.
And that, of course, thrilled me in ways that I can't even begin to tell you. I shamelessly offered my services.
There are 3 co-curators for the project. Myself, Dr. Catherine McKenzie, and Dr. Suzanne Anna.
It's been such a long time since I've thought about what might have been instead of what happened.
The 2018 exhibition would have consisted of a lot of documentation like letters, a large number of photographs. Another young shot of Max Stern. In this instance, he's photographing himself in the mirror. 1932, 1 year before the Nazis came to power, out skiing. It would have been the first time that that material would have returned to Düsseldorf, where it had been gathered before Max was forced to flee Germany.
We wanted it to be a viewing experience that made people, let's be honest, ultimately think, maybe if my grandmother has passed on a painting that more rightfully belongs to this family, maybe I'll think about talking to them.
We had discussed having a kind of wall display of Gallery Stern inventory, some of which has not been located, and to also duplicate that onto monitors and allow the public to input on those particular paintings if they had any information about any of them.
Wir haben sehr viel Kontakt zu den Verwandten der Sammlerfamilien der Galerie Stern aufnehmen und entdecken dort vielleicht interessante Funde in den Wohnzimmern.
An awful lot of the paintings are probably still in that region.
Wir werden in dieser Ausstellung das Thema Restitution umfänglich behandeln, um Bürgerinnen und Bürger der Bundesrepublik Deutschland zu erläutern, was es damit eigentlich auf sich hat und wer im Recht ist.
So I think we are at the right place, at the right time, and with the right project there.
The exhibition has never opened and will never open.
Which was a big surprise to me.
4 weeks before its opening.
Kurz vor der Eröffnung im Februar sagt die Stadt die Ausstellung nach 3 Jahren Vorbereitung ganz plötzlich ab.
It was like going in one day to have your teeth cleaned and the dentist suddenly ripping out your tooth without anesthetic.
I had very little notice at all.
Did not receive a respectful letter thanking us for what pitiful efforts we'd made on their behalf, pro bono.
I had never received any official reason for the cancellation.
Absolute anger set in.
Susanna Anna was effectively muzzled from speaking to us regarding the exhibition and its future plans.
Hi, this is Jamie Caston.
Yes, it is. How do you do, Mr. Mayor? Nice to meet you.
Do you speak German?
Sadly, no.
Sadly, no.
I worked for Enron for a year and a half. Düsseldorf has actually, ever since the first industrial revolution, we have received a lot of immigrants, mostly from Poland, when Düsseldorf had a lot of steel mills, for example.
Let me just, I'm sorry, I'll just take this interruption to cut ahead.
Okay.
I realize we have limited time.
Mayor Geisel gave several reasons as to why he canceled the exhibition.
There didn't seem to be any really consistent reason given, even in the press.
At the outset, the reasons that we understood through the media was that there was insufficient balance between German and Canadian scholars.
Because there was too great an involvement of the Canadians.
I've been working on Max Stern or related subjects for 20 years.
Since late 2005.
After came the "this is not good enough" argument.
You felt that the exhibition was not properly prepared.
That's it. There was a lack of care.
Mayor Geisel said that Dr. Susanna Anna was not competent to prepare the exhibition.
Which, in my estimation, then automatically doubled back onto Philip and I.
Well, I would contest the notion that the scholarship was flawed because the exhibition was canceled prior to us giving Düsseldorf officials our catalog texts.
What research then did you see that you're calling unprofessional?
Ich glaube, ich muss es nicht alles selber sehen, diese ganzen Sachen, sondern wenn ich aus dem Museum auch klare Informationen bekomme, dass dieses und jenes an Informationen eben nicht enthalten ist in den Unterlagen, dann muss ich das sehr ernst nehmen.
How long had they been working on it?
Frankly, I there was another issue is
I read 3 years. I read 3 years. Does that? I read that it was 3 years that it had been in the plan.
I really can't tell.
From late 2014 into 2017, we're very advanced on the project, had the catalog almost prepared for publication.
We knew every single item that was going to be in the exhibition.
How long had the exhibition been, well, we can do the math.
Ich habe Ihnen gesagt, Sie können Frau Dr. Anna gerne interviewen.
I didn't realize I was welcome to interview Dr. Anna. I have not been invited to do so, but that's interesting.
4 weeks before the exhibition, Dr. Anna, who runs the Stadtmuseum in Düsseldorf, could not tell what was actually in the catalog.
Und insofern kann ich Ihnen nicht sagen, mit welchem Vorlauf die Frau Anna da an dieser Ausstellung gearbeitet hat. Ich weiß nur aus anderen Ausstellungen, dass sie oftmals eben auch Konzepte komplett übernimmt, ohne selbst einzusteigen.
The fact that Mayor Geisel said that Dr. Susanna Anna was not competent is clearly unacceptable.
And how long have you been here?
Since 10 years now.
And what is your job? What's the function?
I'm art historian, archaeologist, and Romanist. And I'm directing the museum, so I'm moderating and coordinating the whole museum and the departments in the museum.
Mayor Geisel also gave us reasons pending claims by the Max Stern Foundation.
I mean, there were some issues concerning restitution issues.
Da ging es da war ein Werk bei der beratenden Kommission aus einem süddeutschen Museum. Titel des Werkes kann ich Ihnen leider im Moment nicht mehr sagen.
Was it in your exhibition?
No.
So why would you cancel your exhibition over that?
Also ich glaube, die Entscheidung, wie gesagt, hat er eben gesagt, es gab mehrere Gründe, weswegen die Ausstellung nicht gezeigt worden ist in der ursprünglichen Form.
There was one issue which is still sort of really contentious, is the painting Die Kinder des Künstlers. My concern was that this painting was showcased as one which needed to be restituted.
We were going to frame it as just a problematic work, which no one denies.
Make it part of a discussion in the art world.
The delays over time in giving us a straight answer on what the position of the city was. 3 or 4 years?
Mr. Geisel, mayor of the city of Düsseldorf, makes this his personal affair.
Clarence told me that they believe this painting needs to be restituted. And I said, well, frankly, I don't know, but I'm very happy to to examine the case, to do research myself.
Before that, I had never dealt with anybody in the city administration.
And so I did organize a hearing with Mr. Pufendorf, and he produced all the evidence that was available concerning the provenance of this painting.
Then we have this meeting with Mr. Geisel and Mr. Pufendorf.
After having investigated the issue, I came to the conclusion that in all likelihood, the painting was no longer in the gallery. I mean, after the Nazis took power, certainly not after 1934, when Max Stern could no longer exercise his profession as a gallerist.
The entire restitution exchange went south very quickly.
He never used any of the documents from this pile subsequently. And I found this rather unusual that, you know, the mayor of the city had nothing better to do to adopt such a restitution case without having any track record of having dealt with this.
This is the only painting where I had personally put some effort in, where I've looked into the issue. This is why I feel unable to restitute the painting.
I mean, this is the mayor of the city of Düsseldorf, a city of 600,000 people, who I'm sure has all kinds of other things to deal with.
Isn't it unusual for a mayor to get so involved in one exhibition?
Maybe, well, but it's something that I find is very important, and this is why I personally did get involved, yes.
I think that ultimately there were other factions within Düsseldorf that were putting pressure on him to reconsider the decision of coming out as pro-restitution.
Was Mr. von Puffendorf involved in advising to cancel the original exhibition?
Er hat mir empfohlen, die Ausstellung nicht zu zeigen, das ist richtig, aber das war jetzt nicht der entscheidende Hinweis.
Jamie Cousin.
Hello. Hello, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Welcome to our little...
Ich vertrete ja auch die Stadt Düsseldorf in Restitutionsangelegenheiten immer wieder.
He's a major figure in many discussions, usually from the side opposing restitution.
He represented the city when we were pursuing the shadow self-portrait.
Also wenn es nach mir gegangen wäre, hätte ich das nicht restituiert.
Tell me about what happened with Düsseldorf and the exhibition.
Das ist sehr unglücklich gelaufen mit der Ausstellung. Da hat eine besondere aggressive Form des Gedenkens durch das städtische Museum gegeben.
So you can see that we grab this chance by the ears, so to say, so that people learn that restitution is a good thing and not a bad thing.
Deren Leiterin ein Akzent stattgefunden in der ersten Ausstellungsvorbereitung, die der wissenschaftlichen Gesichtspunkten nicht gerecht wurde.
I tell you, we will expose all the restituted paintings.
Sodass die Stadt Düsseldorf zu spät allerdings, aber nicht zu spät, die Reißleine gezogen hat.
What we have learned in the 20 years of working on restitution is that, particularly in Germany, there's an anti-restitution side to the argument that we are facing an uphill battle with.
Basically, Düsseldorf became the Alamo of the anti-restitution movement because they seemed to sort of stake everything, all the arguments against restituting to Jewish claimants right there in Düsseldorf.
Basically, the attitude that I often receive, that people say, yeah, we are terribly sorry. Oh, yeah, that was a terrible period, the worst in man's history. And we're so sorry about all those people who suffered all those things. But as far as this particular work of art is concerned, in our collection, well, that's a different story.
Der Führer überraschend nach Düsseldorf und besichtigte eingehend die große Ausstellung Schaffendes Volk.
Wir machen es das so einfach, wenn wir sagen, der ursprüngliche Eigentümer war Jude, er ist verfolgt worden. Gleichgültig, was mit dem Bild geschehen ist, es muss zurückgegeben werden.
Completely different attitudes.
Es kann keine gerechten und fairen Lösungen geben.
The unwillingness to recognize that particular act of injustice that needs to be rectified.
Die Schwierigkeit, Vorgänge aus den 30er, 40er Jahren zu rekonstruieren, wird immer größer.
nothing but question marks, issues, and concerns, and it drags on for years and years in some of the cases.
You've used the term hasty restitution.
Das ist Gift für eine gerechte Entscheidung. Dass nur neues Unrecht entsteht, wenn man das übers Knie bricht, wie wir im Deutschen zu sagen pflegen.
Listen, how would you like the idea that your car was stolen years ago, and you meet somebody on the street who is driving your car, and you tell that person, hey, that's my car, I want my car back. The person tells you, oh, I'm terribly sorry, but don't worry, I'm taking good care of your car.
Die wollen nur ein Ziel erreichen, die optimale Durchsetzung der Restitutionsansprüche. Ob dabei 5 gerade gelassen werden müssen oder nicht.
Many of them believe that there are commercial underpinnings to the reason why people are recovering works.
Und das ist für mich nicht die gewünschte Form von Wiedergutmachung.
This argument is really not about justice. This is about people, Jewish people, particularly in the 3rd generation, who just do this in order to make money. Why didn't they come 50 years ago, when the work of art was not as valuable as it is today?
Da wird im Grunde genommen nur etwas versilbert.
Is there a well-established anti-Semitic undertone, which we have known for generations?
Ich bin, weil ich all das aufgedeckt habe, als Antisemit beschimpft worden. Aber ich lasse mich nicht davon abhalten, Dinge, die missbräuchlich gelaufen sind, auch beim Namen zu nennen. Das ist meine Philosophie.
These paintings that we are trying to recover, we consider to be like the last prisoners of war.
Die letzten Kriegsgefangenen. Ein Unwort. Damit entwertet er all das, was die Bundesrepublik mit großer Verantwortung getan hat.
They have the law of the land on their side as it relates to crimes and theft.
Jemand, der eine Sache, ein Kunstwerk, über 10 Jahre unangefochten in seinem Besitz hat, darf darauf vertrauen, dass dies zu Recht ist.
The argument for restitution reflects that we have to find fair and just solutions to these historic crimes.
Ich darf ein bisschen rechtlich argumentieren. Wenn etwas in ordnungsgemäßem Geschäftsverkehr verkauft worden ist, das nicht mehr zurückgefordert werden kann. Bei der Verfolgung, es ist ausreichend, dass der betreffende Eigentümer des Kunstwerks unter Druck gesetzt war. Er hatte keine andere Alternative, als es zu verkaufen. Das erweitert die Anspruchsmöglichkeiten ungemein.
The onus is on the plaintiff to prove everything and more than everything in order to create a compelling set of circumstances that a judge would have to hear.
Tell me about having to establish that someone was under duress as it applies to art restitution.
The idea of duress is anchored in part in persecution. This is probably one of the most difficult concepts to grasp.
Sie behaupten, das Bild sei verfolgungsbedingt wegen des Zwangs, die Galerie aufzugeben, verloren gegangen. Stimmt aber nicht.
It's easy to look at Max Stern's story from 2 distinct positions and easy to kind of twist it to your side.
Natürlich wusste Max Stern in den 30er Jahren seit längerem, dass er im Fokus stand der Nazis. Aber er konnte ja bis zum September 1937 seine Galerie weiterführen, hat auch ganz normalen Geschäftsbetrieb gehabt, hat inseriert in der Weltkunst und dergleichen, auch in anderen Tageszeitungen.
Arguments as if Max Stern was just another art dealer who happened to run a gallery in Düsseldorf, and the fact that, he had to sell paintings during the Nazi period was just, part of the regular course of running a gallery like everybody else was running a gallery.
Objectively, duress is a state where you lose consent, put very simply. In other words, the conditions around you are so intense and so horrendous that if I ask you to do something simple, you probably will have to think about it because your mind is totally preoccupied. And all you're thinking about is your survival. And how do you get out of this spot? And how do you get from point A to point B? And the only way you can get from point A to point B is to have money. And if you don't have money, how do you get money? And how do you release yourself from the pressures exerted upon you by Nazi overseers or by people who are in your midst? And who are sympathetic to the Nazis and who are threatening to take your property. Because by the time duress is fully operational, you have lost all control of your property.
The rise of the National Socialist movement coincides with the death of Julius Stern, Max's father.
So when the Nazis come to power, they have a major economic crisis on their hands. They have a major social crisis on their hands and political crisis. That structure turns against the Jews. Because in order to move economically, you have to take their wealth. You have to marginalize them. You can't have both at the same time.
Deutsche Männer und Frauen, das Zeitalter eines überspitzten jüdischen Intellektualismus ist nun zu Ende. Und der Durchbruch der deutschen Revolution hat auf dem deutschen Weg wieder die Gasse freigemacht.
Soon after Max Stern acquired his father's gallery, a number of decisions were taken by the National Socialist Party that affected the Jewish professions.
The first step was to exclude them from the German civil service. Then regulations introduced by the Nazis banned Jewish doctors from treating Christian patients in their clinics.
One of those decisions was to remove the membership of Jews from the art world.
Which really means he's being stripped of his license to practice his profession. And this is an economic disaster, of course. In 1935, in the first Nuremberg decree, Jews were stripped of their German citizenship. This was not enough.
Ich schlage nun dem Reichstag die Annahme der Gesetze vor, die Ihnen Parteigenosse Reichstagspräsident Göring verlesen wird. Eheschließungen zwischen Juden und Staatsangehörigen deutschen oder artverwandten Blutes sind verboten. Hinter allen drei Gesetzen steht die Partei und mit ihr und hinter ihr die deutsche Nation.
Instead of being citizens with rights and responsibilities, they became subjects with responsibilities and no rights. So every protection that human beings are granted in German legislation is gone. And the Gestapo and the SS and the brown shirts can persecute Jews in any way they wish without Jews having a legal remedy. No protection. They stand naked before Nazi power.
Max Stern eventually received numerous letters from agencies within the German government to wind up his business and ultimately find a way to liquidate his holdings.
Max appealed the decision, and that was able to buy him time until 1937.
But making arrangements for life outside Düsseldorf.
I was sure that when Hitler one day would leave and Germany would be free of the Nazis again, I could return and take the gallery over as owner or part owner.
So the notion that German Jews like Max Stern felt no pressure, it's laughable.
In 1937, one of the last acts of the Gallery Stern was to consign their remaining inventory to a Third Reich-approved auction house. The Lempertz auction house was recognized for what they called Jew auctions.
Dazu kann vielleicht der Inhaber von Kunsthaus Lempertz, Herr Professor Hanstein, Ihnen etwas erzählen. Sein Vater und Großvater waren mit der Galerie Stern geradezu freundschaftlich verbunden.
Yes, the auction was in the former building on the same place, in Cologne. So this was the office of my grandfather, and Stern did visit my grandfather in the 50s, and of course, he must have been here, I'm sure. By the way, this is my grandfather, the sculpture. He had a very good memory of my grandfather. That's what he told me.
There was a power dynamic that invariably left Max Stern no choice.
And they will say that, well, he designed the catalog.
Und hat selbst den Katalog geschrieben.
The catalog was printed in Düsseldorf, printed by him. The foreword was written by him, and he did attend the auction, of course. And the catalog was not in the regular size of Lempert's catalogs.
So whether you're participating in the catalog or not is to me not an indication of how jolly you are about the event taking place. We know very little about the auction in terms of the physicality of it. I mean, we know it was held in the Lempertz auction house, but we don't know in what size room.
This is also the auction gallery here. So the auctioneer is always there. And then here you have the audience. And then here we have 20 telephone lines. So at that time, everybody in the auction room knew the others.
We don't know who was there, by and large. I mean, maybe 5 or 6 people are known.
There have been 50, 60 people in the auction room, not more dealers than private collectors. We can pull down these walls, and now we have space for between 200 and 300 people.
We don't know who was gaveling down.
I'm sure that it was my grandfather, because in one catalog I did read that Mr. Stern was in the auction room and in contact with the auctioneer and giving a symbol if he does agree or not.
We know that most of the paintings had been sold, but we don't know exactly the number because Lempertz has claimed that they have lost all the records as a result of bombing during World War II.
On 2nd March, 700 Lancaster and Halifax bombers roar over Cologne to block roads and railroads leading across the Rhine.
And we lost our archive, and we have nothing. By the way, the only piece which is from the former building, the door.
By the end of the sale, the works that were auctioned off amounted to only pennies on the dollar for Max Stern and his family.
Was it fair market value? Was it below market value? What's your sense?
Hard to judge. The fetch prices have been absolutely the regular prices.
What's your sense of what it was like for, your family to do business and conduct these auctions at that time?
I don't like to judge about this time.
It was a very good business to liquidate Jewish property.
We are one of the leading auction companies in Europe, maybe number 10. That's it, and I don't like to measure myself. And this is by Gerhard Richter. This is by Konrad Klapek, German artist. This is by Annie Wall. This is Queen Beatrice. This is Picasso, this is Giacometti, this is Picasso. At least we are the oldest auction company in the world, still in family property, and I'm now the 5th generation.
If you're a Jew and you're German, you will have that additional layer of persecution, oppression that basically will incapacitate you in the face of the state. And pretty much you're putty. And your decisions are driven largely by a very basic instinct to survive at all cost. And that's what I would argue is a proper duress. And a forced sale is exactly that.
At that time, I didn't have a bad feeling about this auction.
It's the last thing that you were forced to think about because your survival is keenly defined by that particular act.
It's only money. It's not really a compensation.
Max left Germany in December 1937.
Hatte aber mit Sicherheit Vorsorge getroffen, damit möglichst viel in die Immigration gerettet werden kann.
After Hitler took over the power in Germany, I decided to leave Germany as soon as we could, find a way to wind up all our affairs. I did not foresee how difficult this all would be.
For anybody to come and now tell me, well, it was sort of, he kind of didn't like it in Düsseldorf anymore, so he decided, to close the gallery and relocate to London, maybe because the sun didn't shine often enough.
The only cloud was the constant growing strength of the Nazis. The Nazi movement shook us out of our complacency and drew our attention to the constantly growing danger.
bank accounts were frozen, his assets were frozen, his real estate was frozen, and as a result, he never saw the true proceeds of that auction, let alone many of the other assets that he had to leave behind during his exodus.
The emigration process was horrendous for German Jews.
These exit visas were really extortionate.
I would call them punitive levies. They were based on what the Nazis understood to be their ownership of property.
It was improvised by the Nazis as they went along.
The Jewish owner would have to forfeit most, if not almost all, of his or her property to the German government in payment for the privilege of leaving Germany. You basically had a suitcase and clothes on your back.
But the Nazis certainly asked from me a tax which was 10,000 mark more than my bank account. It was blackmail.
Max Stern überhaupt nicht der Bärbeißige, mit allen Mitteln Entschädigungs- und Wiedergutmachungsleistungen zu erreichen, agiert hat. Nein, er hat seinen Anspruch geltend gemacht. Vollkommen richtig, aber immer mit Maß.
And so he was, in fact, the first member of the Max Stern Art Restitution Project by virtue of his attempts in the 1940s to recover works.
So we have, for example, a set of photographs showing artworks that were part of the Gallery Stern inventory. The photograph is evidence of him owning a particular work. Just prior to leaving, he left sort of the residue of his collection with a shipping agent in Cologne. Yeah, for instance, there's a wonderful still life by Jan Bruegel. After the war, he had discovered that the Gestapo had confiscated those paintings in 1939. So at that point, he started a kind of restitution project where he sought his lost property. It hasn't to this day been found.
He very seriously and very vigorously, with a good lawyer, pursued his restitution claims.
And traveled to Europe on several occasions, put an ad in, first in Canadian Art in 1948, and then in Weltkunst in 1952, I believe.
He posted about 8 or 10 works that he felt had a good chance of being recognized by the art markets that were in Europe and circulating.
Now, unfortunately, the subsequent recovery efforts were not to his full satisfaction because of the hurdles of German law, German civil law, that prevented him from simply recovering something that the Gestapo had, taken from him.
If someone purchased the painting that had been confiscated, they weren't necessarily responsible for giving it back to Stern.
When he came back in the 50s and reconnected with your grandparents, was that part of pursuing the lost paintings or just
to see friends?
And this is Max and his wife Iris on a ship returning from Europe after locating some of the lost paintings.
Well, he came to Germany in the 50s, also meeting my grandfather. Unfortunately, he went to court to ask for compensation. Unfortunately, he was successful. He got a compensation for the maximum which was possible at that time.
I would say he didn't receive fair compensation.
He had to buy them back. He was not given the works back.
Mr. Stein did accept the court decision, and he was happy with that.
And I know from family correspondence that he bitterly complained.
After the war, I could claim my paintings back, and with a clear proof that they were confiscated without any justification. And in short, they were stolen. I'm
a Republican. I respect the court decisions. even if I don't like them.
Dann heißt es, Sie mögen ja rechtlich Recht haben, aber moralisch sind wir doch gehalten, in jedem Fall zu restituieren. Das ist das Gefährliche.
The international press reaction to the Düsseldorf mayor's cancellation was enormous. The art world and the Jewish world could not believe that this decision had been taken unilaterally by a local politician.
Not everybody did like the decision.
That seems like an understatement given the letter I was handed prior to this interview in which your Jewish friend says you've been the victim of an accusatory shitstorm.
What was happened then?
I'm saying your own friend has described what the reaction was.
What then happened?
Yeah, tell me.
Accusatory shitstorm.
Ronald Lauder, the head of the World Jewish Congress, was incensed by this city mayor's decision.
It was very unhelpful when Düsseldorf first canceled an exhibit of Max Stern under pressure, while also holding up restitution cases.
There were some articles that sort of assumed that I was a covert anti-Semitic person, which is totally ridiculous.
What was the PR effect of the cancellation?
No genius would have, come up with a better idea on how to mess things up for yourself.
Soon after the cancellation, it was decided by the Düsseldorf administration to reorganize an exhibition.
What did you think when you heard there was a new exhibition in the works?
I wondered why.
Well, good on you. Have fun.
To me, it was really trying to gain control of the narrative.
Were you invited to be part of it?
No.
Ich hätte mich sehr gefreut, wenn wir jetzt hier wieder einen Weg gefunden hätten, beide gemeinsam, Kanada und Deutschland, hier die Ausstellung gemeinsam zu präsentieren.
Because they were accused of silencing the Canadians.
Now, Düsseldorf decided, okay, we're going to have a completely new team.
Did you know anything about the new curator?
No.
Tell me about choosing Mr. Forster as curator.
Ich glaube, die neue, das habe ich ja mehrfach schon gesagt, dass wir insofern wiederholen wir uns hier.
The curator of the new exhibition is Dieter Forster.
Dr. Dieter Forster, ein wunderbarer Museumsmann.
Was it your suggestion? Was he your recommendation?
Wir haben miteinander ausführlich gesprochen. Er wusste ja, dass wir recherchiert hatten in dieser Restitutionssache.
Nummer 3, Familienbetrieb.
Herr Vorsteher made a name for himself many years ago, fighting together with people like von Pufendorf, tooth and nails, to prevent a restitution claim against his museum for a collection of posters.
This is a situation where the museum never purchased the collection. It was seized by the Third Reich.
Es ist nicht meine Sammlung, sondern es ist die Sammlung der Bundesrepublik Deutschland und die wird darüber entscheiden, ob wir zurückgeben sollen oder nicht.
Wir kennen uns, Dieter Vorsteher und ich, auch aus einem anderen Fall, den ich fürs Deutsche Historische Museum vertreten habe.
And the museum lost that case in court and had to return that collection of posters.
There is a new ruling this morning forcing a Berlin museum to turn over thousands of rare posters to a man down in Florida. Those posters were seized from Peter Sachs's father by Nazis, now valued somewhere between $6 and $21 million.
Die Plakatsammlung hätte nicht herausgegeben werden dürfen. Gottes Willen nicht.
But you have to read Herr Vorsteher's statements during that period. And I can assure you, they were not restitution-friendly statements.
Es wäre nicht nur für uns, sondern für die Geschichte der Plakatkunst ein Verlust.
Er ist eben ein Könner. Es muss eben eine Max-Stern-Ausstellung gemacht werden. Das wird Dieter Vorsteher gestalten, die verschiedenen Aspekte hier gerecht gewichtet. Das heißt nicht, dass die Ausstellung nur eine Meinung vertreten darf, wie die ursprüngliche Konzeption das beinhaltet hat.
Why do you think they picked him?
I can only assume, for the same reason why Herr von Pufendorf was picked as a lawyer to represent the city when it comes to restitution claims. They all come from the same group who would never ever give up, fighting restitution claims.
Morgen ist es endlich soweit. Im Stadtmuseum Düsseldorf werden wir die Sonderausstellung Entrechtet und beraubt, der Künstler Max Stern eröffnen.
And the funniest part is that the director of the museum in which the exhibition is taking place is excluded from the exhibition in her own museum.
Sehr geehrter Oberbürgermeister, meine Damen und Herren.
I'm curious whether when the exhibition, is being opened, whether she needs to move to the back row, as somebody who is not sort of visible in connection with this exhibition.
Das letzte Verfahren endete. Die schönste Nachricht dieses Tages ist, dass wir die Ausstellung nun eröffnen können.
Well, my concern about the new exhibition is that it will cover in some details the history of the family as it is unproblematic.
Wo kommt er her? Seine Vorfahren, seine Familie? Der Vater von Max Stern, Julius, zog für seine Ausbildung zum Manufakturwarenhändler zu seinem Schwager.
And, oh, by the way, we move to the next chapter. That's 1933 to 1937, which is sort of just another period in the history of the family. No, it's not.
Eine Reise nach Ottawa in das Archiv dort war die Voraussetzung, dass wir diese Ausstellung überhaupt machen können.
I understand that Mr. Vorsteher came here to prepare for the exhibition. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I never spoke to Dr. Vorsteher. What's his name? Sorry, Dr. What's his name?
Vorsteher.
Vorsteher.
Were they not interested in talking to the person who had been running the Max Stern archive for 20 years?
It didn't appear so.
Ich war 10 Tage da.
In 10 days, you're not getting what the papers have to offer.
We do have a few historical remnants left from the Gallery Stern's life from 33 to 37. This is an identification file for the police.
Who are the world's top experts on Max Stern?
Ich würde sagen, für die Familiengeschichte Stern in Deutschland hat sich jetzt das Stadtmuseum, hat da, denke ich mal, die Nase vorn.
And how long would you say it takes to become an expert on something?
How long? Das kommt drauf an, wie klug man ist.
Are you an expert on Max Stern?
Ein bisschen.
The client cards. The most important record surviving from the gallery stern. They basically list all of the clients of the gallery. They're important because they allow us to determine how many works were sold at the gallery, by what artists, etc.
Wir haben sehr viel Scans von Dokumenten und Fotos aus Ottawa bekommen.
They were mainly, if not completely, using our photocopies and had a very small number of paintings.
War es uns dann auch nicht so wichtig, die Originale zu zeigen.
Die Frage bezieht sich auf das Selbstbildnis von Schadow, das restituiert worden ist. Wird das jetzt eigentlich in der Ausstellung gezeigt, im Rahmen dieser Ausstellung oder nicht? Und wenn nicht, warum nicht?
Sollte aber auf Wunsch des Ästhet nicht unbedingt in der Ausstellung gezeigt werden.
But it will be in the museum, but not in the rooms of the exhibition.
Man kann also auch sich das Original erwandern. Ist in Ordnung, das ist kein Problem. So ist das Leben.
Greetings to Montreal. Greetings to Montreal.
Part of the Max Stern papers includes several tapes, including 8 autobiographical tapes that were made later in life.
Would they let me leave Germany, or would they stop me at the border?
Warum können wir die nicht hören? Das wäre ja eigentlich schön gewesen, auch die Stimme von Max Stern selbst zu hören.
Die Rechte liegen wohl beim Ästhet für die Stimmen. Wenn man das Gemälde von Raum rechts nicht nach Raum links bringen möchte, war es auch irgendwie logisch, dass man die Tonbänder nicht aus Ottawa nach Düsseldorf zum Hören des Publikums bringt. Insofern ist der Ästhet in seiner Ablehnung, oder Anti-Haltung zu dieser Ausstellung sehr konsequent.
When we understood that the Canadian scholars were not in any way going to be involved, we agreed in solidarity to not have anything to do with this new exhibition.
In welcher Form binden Sie das Bild die Kinder des Künstlers ein?
And if the museum thought they couldn't have the first exhibition because of pending claims, that they're now going to focus on a pending claim and make it part of the exhibition seems to be, 180 degrees the other way.
Ja, wir können das Originalgemälde in der Ausstellung zeigen, in dem Raum, in dem es um Provenienzforschung geht.
There will be sort of a separate little segment, which I understand is going to also deal with the history of the painting, and therefore I presume with the question of whether this painting should be restituted or not.
Zu den Kindern des Künstlers einsetzt. Es gibt nur 2 Indizien, die möglicherweise überhaupt mal einen Besitz oder ein Eigentum von Max Stern darlegen.
Just tell me about what's happened with the Düsseldorf Jewish community and how you feel about it.
Ich weiß es nicht. Also ich weiß nicht, was die Einstellung jetzt ist. Oder wonach haben Sie gefragt?
I don't understand, again, as somebody who grew up in this country, how a city like Düsseldorf can present an exhibition pertaining to the fate, particularly the persecution of one of its Jewish citizens, and have the local Jewish community reject that exhibition.
They're refusing to.
Ich weiß es nicht. Tja, da müssen Sie die fragen. Ich weiß es jetzt nicht, ne?
I'm the president of the Jewish community of Düsseldorf.
Sie haben die Ausstellung ja noch wahrscheinlich bisher noch nicht zur Kenntnis genommen.
We think it's important to bring an exhibition about Max Stern and the restitution issue because this is a very important part of the history of the city and of Jewish inhabitants and their sufferings. And we were not involved in the whole process. We had no information what's going to be exposed there, what is the base of this exhibition, and so we always said we are not on board.
Also ich weiß jetzt nicht, worauf sich die Vorbehalte gründen. Ich meine, es ist eine Person der Düsseldorfer Stadtgeschichte. Eigentlich müsste man da Interesse dran haben, wie man sie darstellt.
I mean, we are again, in a time where there's concern about anti-Semitism, where synagogues are being attacked, where Jewish individuals are being attacked on the streets of German cities. That is how I grew up experiencing how the country and the Germans dealt with the Nazi period. There's those easy general statements.
So etwas nie wieder passieren darf in Deutschland und nicht in Düsseldorf. Keinesfalls.
And then it gets much more complicated when it comes to specifics.
But how do you feel about it? The fact that they're refusing to participate?
Ja, als von Berlin aus guckend befremdet es mich etwas.
In the first exhibition, we were asked to take part of it. We were invited into it. In the second one, we had the impression there was no real interest us to give any expertise.
How would you characterize the situation that you have inherited?
Alle handelnden Personen, die in den Vorgängen um die Max-Stern-Ausstellung sind nicht mehr im Amt, würde ich definitiv nicht Herrn Pufendorf engagieren. Tatsächlich ist ein deutlicher Unterschied zu den Vorjahren dadurch, dass das Team über die Provenienzforschung arbeitet.
Just in terms of who is on that team, Michel Brink, who has been around for a while, I think, right? Do you know where Frau Michel Brink worked before she worked on the Provenance team? Where was that?
Sie war in der Kanzlei von Herrn Pufendorf beschäftigt.
Thank you. What are the current claims still pending from the Max Stern project against Düsseldorf?
Also wir haben tatsächlich einige laufende Fälle und da das laufende Verfahren sind, würde ich dazu jetzt ungern etwas sagen.
Well, I'm going to ask you anyway. I would like to discuss The Artist's Children by von Schadow. Can you summarize for me what the steps have been in that negotiation so far?
We have oodles of exchanges, but it went nowhere in the end.
And over what period of time, roughly?
Oh, I would say 3 or 4 years. We were at a standstill.
Wir haben im Dezember noch ein Gespräch anberaumt.
Hello.
For me, this conversation is the possibility to talk to you about an opportunity. We would like to have the portrait here in Düsseldorf.
Okay. Obviously, our first request was first to agree to have the painting returned to the heirs of the rightful owner.
Okay. This Mädchen, you are looking a little bit worrying about.
We still do not have the evidence that it was traded by the Stern Gallery in the Nazi era.
Here we are again. I think it's time for you to decide what to do with what we gave you after years of not moving forward. I'm not even talking about a yes or no, but dead silence.
It's not my responsibility, but I'm really sorry for that. For the city. Now we have a new mayor.
So what do you propose as a timeline?
I don't need a long timeline. My meeting with the mayor is in 1 hour, and I can give you an answer next week.
She's still out there.
Ah, here we go.
And unfortunately, I can't see you.
I think it's okay as long as you can hear us clearly. And
Yeah.
Willie and I are here, and we're all ears.
As I told you, I had my jour fixe with my mayor, and we both totally agree. Full restitution, compensation, because we all want to have the painting still in Düsseldorf. For all that, we need a decision in the city council. But let me say it, the April city council is on the 20th of April. Would that be a problem for you because it's the birthday of Adolf Hitler?
Well,
wow.
Yeah.
So we have to live with that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, great. Now.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, well, thank you so much, and we'll be in touch.
Yeah, we look forward to working with you, Frau Koch, and we'll...
Let's bring it to a good end.
Very good. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Okay, for you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, I always like to go to Germany on the first birthday.
It's springtime for Hitler, isn't that the perfect kind of...
Yeah, springtime for Hitler.
I was born in Düsseldorf, and that is why they call me Rome.
Ihre Plätze einzunehmen. Wir beginnen mit dem öffentlichen Teil der Ratssitzung. Bitte.
Morgen ist der 21.04. und morgen findet die nächste Kirmes in Düsseldorf statt, und zwar die Frühlingskirmes.
Schwerpunktmäßig haben wir uns in der Sitzung im März damit beschäftigt, wie das Zero-Waste-Konzept für die Stadt Düsseldorf erstellt werden soll.
Verstehen Sie mich nicht falsch, das hört sich super an, eigentlich alles.
Das ist der Antrag der FDP, Demensdorf für Düsseldorf, und zu 21.5. Dann kommen wir zur Abstimmung über die Vorlage Kulturausschuss Restitution eines Gemäldes. Und ich darf zunächst fragen, wer ist für diese Vorlage? Das ist die Fraktion Die Partei Klima, das ist die Fraktion Die Linke, die SPD, Bündnis 90, die Grünen, der Oberbürgermeister, die CDU, die FDP, Ratsfrau Krüger. Auch dann die Tierschutzgruppe Freie Wähler in Gänze. Wer enthält sich? Die AfD. Gegenstimmen? Keine. Damit haben wir die Restitution einstimmig beschlossen. Vielen Dank.
Dr. Corte,
Clarence.
to your health.
And to Shadow's children and the rabbit, the white rabbit.
Has anything changed in the city's information or perception about the provenance of the painting?
Nein.
Then why give it back?
Es gab keinen Restitutionsgrund. Dazu kamen auch die Gutachten, die dazu erstellt worden sind. Gleichwohl hat man sich aus politischen Gründen entschlossen, das Bild zurückzugeben.